In this video we talk about Odyssey, a game published by Ares, and this is a game of hidden movement, or I should say semi-hidden, misleading movement. I've seen comparisons online between this game and Battleship. I guess that must be mainly because there is an hidden element and because of the naval theme. But in truth, the games are very different. This game here, Odyssey, has a further layer of sophistication. The elements in the game do move, so in that sense it is much closer to games like Scotland Yard or Mr. Jack. Simple game of deduction, mainly for two players, so at least it is for two factions. One of the two factions can be played by multiple players, multiple navigators, sailors, while the other faction is controlled by Poseidon. I guess that technically you could also have multiple players controlling the Poseidon faction, but in truth it's a two-player game, two-side game that of course can be played by multiple players, depending on how you assign the roles. Anyways, let me show you how the game works. The game is played on two identical boards that are separated by the lid, which is used as a screen between the two. Identical boards, and on each you place four ships, again, in identical starting positions. This is the board of Poseidon, this is the board of the Navigator. The goal for the Navigator is to lead at least three of their ships here on the Sacred Island, and the goal for the Poseidon player is to prevent the Navigator player from doing exactly that. To do so, the Poseidon player has 11 storm tiles that are used one per turn to mess up the navigation of those ships and to confuse the Navigator player. How does the game work? Well, pretty simple. Each turn, the Poseidon player chooses a storm tile, shows it to the opponent, and then moves the corresponding ship of the Navigator on this board and this board only. If this tile here is chosen, then all four ships are moved. Suppose I'm the Poseidon player and I decide that I want to move the red ship here. And I do not tell the Navigator player what I did. I told them what kind of ship I moved, the type of ship that I moved, but not the direction. So now the Navigator player knows that they only have an approximate knowledge of where the red ship is, but in truth the red ship is not where it appears to be anymore. It has to be in one of the adjacent squares. That's been done, the Navigator moves all of their ships, and each time that the ship is moved, the Navigator tells the Poseidon player the direction. For example, I'm moving the green ship west, and you have a compass here just to make sure that both players are on the same page, because a single mistake may mess up the whole game. So Navigator says, I'm moving my green ship west, and the Poseidon player moves their ship accordingly, marking that position. Remember, only the Poseidon player has an exact understanding of where everything is. As storm tiles are played, the Navigator only has an approximate understanding. And then the Navigator player says, I'm gonna move the red ship north, and that also is marked there, and so on and so forth. However, after a ship is moved, the Poseidon player must disclose to the Navigator what the people on that ship see. So basically, there's a survey phase. After the Navigator moves, the Poseidon player tells them exactly what is in the square in which the ship is. For example, if the ship is in an island, the Poseidon player tells them it is an island and tells them which one it is, which type of island, if it's a rocky island or one covered in wood. If it's sea, the Poseidon player tells them if it's regular, shallow sea, or deep sea. As you can see, the deep sea is darker. Also, the Poseidon player gives information about the 8 adjacent squares, but that information is much more vague. That information pretty much only tells the player if there are islands and how many, but not the type and not the location. Also, the Poseidon player discloses if there are ships and how many. And that's, that's it. And The navigator player takes that information into account, trying to deduce the actual correct location of the ship, and the game continues with movements on this board here, and actual movement on this board. As the game progresses, the two boards will look increasingly different from one another, but, well, the game will continue until 11 turns have passed. So the 11 tiles, 2 per color ship plus 3 mega storms. When the 11 tiles are used and 11 turns have passed, the game is over. Also, if the navigator reaches the Sacred Island, which may be, ta-da, for all I know, maybe this is the position that allows me to reach the Sacred Islands with the green ship. In any case, if the navigator has reached the Sacred Island with 3 or 4 other ships by the end of the game, by the end of turn 11, the navigator wins the game. If only 0, 1, or 2 ships have reached the Sacred Island, then the Poseidon player wins. There are also a couple of variants that may make the life of one of the players easier and vice versa, so you can balance the complexity there. There are also a couple of other rules that, again, you can choose to add to tweak gameplay in various ways, but this is the general idea. Poseidon plays a storm. Navigator moves their ships, gets information about the location of the ship, deduces the actual location, and tries to reach the Sacred Island. This is pretty much how the game works. So the theme, well, the Odyssey, I don't know that I was really thinking about the Odyssey. In fact, even within the rulebook, there isn't any mention about the Odyssey, it's only in the title. Maybe they were afraid that the Homer estate would complain, it would sue them, so they tried to keep things a little indirect that way. Game-wise speaking, this is a good game. It's a simple game rule-wise. It doesn't have to be necessarily very simple in terms of the deduction, in terms of what you're trying to do and how to achieve victory. But I like the levels of decisions that you have, the deduction that you have to work through, which I don't think, however, makes the game too complicated. If you find that one of the two sides is at a disadvantage, luckily enough, you have many variants that come with the game that will allow one side to find things more or less hard depending on how you like it. There are also markers that the navigators can use to mark the position where they think their ship is. Those are very useful tools, very useful for that side to figure things out. So I found it to be challenging, to have a level of challenge, but I didn't find it to be too complicated, too complex, too much of a brain burn. I don't know, maybe it's me, but I find Mr. Jack to be much harder to play. At the end of Mr. Jack, I feel that my brain is heated and almost overheated much more than it is here, although I also like Mr. Jack. I would say it's almost like a casual deduction, casual hidden movement game. It plays very fast once the players know what to do, and most importantly, if they don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. This is one of those games that will be fun to play with some people and absolutely unbearable to play with some other people. You need to be in the deduction spirit, but you need to be respectful of the other side. So as I do sometimes, as I realize that I'm spending too much time making a move, you know what, I make whatever move seems right, even though I may not have analyzed things perfectly. I prefer to have fun and to have an enjoyable experience with another player rather than to absolutely analyzing things as if I was alone in a lab at my desk doing whatever type of research. This is not research, this is a fun interactive activity, so please do your deduction, please do your analysis, but remember that analysis paralysis is a big no-no, and you also know that some of your friends cannot help it, just play something else with them. Overall, with the right people that want to have a light but not trivial experience with a hidden movement deduction game, then I would recommend Odyssey. It's pretty big, it's a pretty big box, the production looks very great, very good. I mean, the production values are very good. There aren't that many components in the box, but in general, this is a good product and definitely a good game for a light deduction game.